We see that we can't move from one place without getting into another. We sometimes feel like, you know what, this Christian stuff is not all that it's cut out to be. I even thought about quitting. You think about those things. Yesterday was tough. Today is tough. Tomorrow is tough. And even Abraham, the patriarch of faith, was tired, weary.
On this hunt, we're back in the Talkeetna Mountains of Alaska, and I'm hunting with my mentor, the guy who's taught me more about life and hunting than anyone else, my pops, Mark Albertson.
The single greatest experiences of my life in the outdoors.
Dad is in search of a wall hanger. He wants to shoot a big bull or go home empty-handed. I'm not as picky, because I'm looking for a bull to take with my bow. So if I get close, I'm going to let an arrow fly. This is my dad's first fly-out hunt, and we couldn't be more excited. Well, me and Pops finally on our way to go caribou hunting. Been planning for it since we drew the tags back in February. We're heading to our pilots right now to load up, go set up base camp on the river, and we'll be hunting tomorrow. Got all of our gear packed up. We should be gone for about 10 days. So hopefully we get some caribou down. Dad's chasing them with a 300 Win Mag. I got the old Mooski. See if I can't get my first caribou with a bow. Excited, Pops?
Very.
Pop's first time doing a backcountry caribou hunt and first fly-in hunt, so it's gonna be fun. Caribou. When you're flying in a Super Cub, each hunter only gets 50 pounds of gear, not including your rifle or bow. The gear is packed tight into the rear of the plane. When the pilot tells you he's ready, you climb on up and strap in. As soon as the planes took off and with each foot we gained with the ascent, I could feel the stress of the planning and the everyday grind of life slip away. We were finally hunting. And as hunters, we're not only in search of critters to chase after, but it's a time to recharge our soul, to enjoy a simpler life, the wilderness, and God's creations. Just landed? How was it, Pops?
The single greatest experiences of my life in the outdoors.
So we made it. Just landed here. Out in the middle of God's country again. Same place we were at where I killed a big bull caribou 2 years ago. You could check out that video. Saw a big moose coming in, lots of sheep. And we are ready. Sporting the Mission Alaska caribou. Let's get it done. Well, first morning here, Caribou Moose Camp. Got a little chilly last night, but we are getting packed up. Got our bags all packed up. Gonna spike camp out from here, kind of head up towards that mountain up there. Probably camp right below it actually, and then work the ridge that you could see. So we're going to kind of be scouting that whole ridge, spike camp for a few days and come back, resupply, do it again. We headed west from our river bottom camp to start our way up the steep mountainside. We had to cross 2 braids of the river and another creek before we started the climb. The first mile of the vertical ascent was made more difficult by the thick brush that was at times over our heads. As we got closer to the mountain, the thick alders started to morph into blueberry patches that were about shin high. At the base of the mountain, we set up a 2-man spike camp, where we had a good vantage point of the surrounding areas. If we were lucky enough, we could see caribou from camp, and then we could make the stalk.
Well, it's our first actual hunting day is about to come to an end. So, 1 cow and 2 bulls, caribou. The cow was way up on the tippy top of the ridge, but we just got done eating lasagna dinner, and I saw a nice little caribou come in. Tried to get on him, but the smaller caribou that we didn't know was there saw us first. And unfortunately, we couldn't quite get a shot. Possibly had the smaller bull at like 200 yards, but being day 1, we're looking for something a little bit better. So we got time. That's exciting day 1. Well, it's our second morning, and we already got some caribou spotted. We are headed. Put the sneak on them. Woke up from spike camp and they were already here, so here we go. Got another group of bulls spotted, so I'm gonna try to put the slip on them with a bow. See if I can get close enough for a shot. Let's go.
There were 3 bulls feeding together at the mountain. 2 were small, and the third one had tall, light-colored horns. It looked like the velvet was dry. Could start rubbing it off any day. The bulls fed up the ravine and out of sight. I slowly made my way trailing behind them. When I peeked over the edge of the draw, I could see the smaller bulls feeding on the opposite hillside. The tall horn bull was in the shadow of the rocks. I was now hunting caribou in sheep country, and patience was going to be key. The 2 smaller bulls slowly fed up and over the peak, leaving the larger bull alone and vulnerable. Planning my route to quietly get above the bull, I made a mental note of the rock formation he was standing under. The rocks resembled Mount Rushmore, but missing the sculptured faces. The caribou was drinking from a spring, which if it were Mount Rushmore, would be under Theodore Roosevelt's chin. I started my stalk to close the distance. It took about 2 hours, but I was now above the bull. Looking down towards him, each step was met with hesitation as I placed my foot down slowly as I could, trying not to make a sound. I made my way closer to the bull and eventually was within shooting distance. I peeked around a rock and could see the rear end of the caribou. I pulled out my rangefinder. It read 31 yards, but at the steep angle to aim at 23. I slowly took one more step forward to reveal more vitals of the bull. I could now see where his neck met his body back to his rump. I slowly drew my bow and settled my 20-yard pin behind his shoulder.
Down right there. Double shot. Thank you, Jesus, providing. Thank you, Caribou. Thank you, buddy. Oh, man. Awesome. Velvet he was probably ready to rub anytime. On his tumble, he scraped it all up, but I'll just peel it off. It'll be fine. Caribou down.
We processed the bull and hauled the meat back to base camp. There we enjoyed the spoils of the hunt, with beer-battered fried heart and fire-roasted tenderloins. When I followed those caribou up the mountain, I doubted if I would ever catch up to them. And if I did, would I even be able to get a shot? But I kept going. It would have been easier to quit and go back to camp. I kept the faith and was successful. I don't think being successful means killing the biggest bull on the mountain, or even any animal for that matter. But it's a hunt that when you get back to society, that you relive over and over through memories and stories. I am happy that I got to spend this time making those memories with my dad. Stay tuned for the bonus adventure, part 2, when a special encounter turned into a dream come true.